Good morning, my fellow friends and gamers and GMs. I really appreciate you guys tuning into my game tips. You guys make the show what it really is with all of this. Um, I'm usually pretty jovial doing these things and pretty happy, and I want to be upbeat for all you guys because I love gaming. I really do. It's a passion. I think that a very wonderful woman in my life, my mom, allowed me to have at a young age. And I'm going to do and I knew I was going to do this, and I hate this, but I lost my mom about 5 years ago. Beautiful woman, beautiful woman. And I wish you guys would have gotten to know her, all my gamer friends, because you would have loved her too. Creative woman, very beautiful when it came to doing her art. My mom was a painter, an artist, just a wonderful, wonderful creative soul. And God, I hate this. Sorry, guys. I know some of you are going to look at this and probably want to tune out, but losing loved ones is not easy. And grief just doesn't go away because you add years to the time you lose them. Cherish the people you love while they're alive, and really and truly enjoy that time. I lost my mom 5 years ago on the 25th of June. It's a very hard thing when you lose a very special and important person in your life. Just know that it's important that you really are there for them. I wish I would have spent more time with my mom before she passed. I did spend some time, and I was there, and she was my best friend. We talked every weekend. We talked in long detail. She lived in the northern states, and I lived in Texas, and you know, I just, we're going to go into the topic this today, and I want to kind of preface the topic a little bit of really giving your heart when you GM and colorizing your GMing of a game. Because I think it's important, and I do this in dedication to my mom, who is a very creative woman. Cherish those friendships you have. Cherish the people you love in your life. Cherish and build new friendships, whether it's online, in real life, in the real world. And not that online's not real. I mean, Twitter, some of these other places, they're wonderful places to build friendships too, if you really find the right people. I'm so thankful for those of you that have reached out to me this week that have also lost people you love. I want to especially give a huge shout out to Patrick in Texas, who is one of my Twitter friends and a GM and a player like me of Pathfinder. Patrick's really a good guy, and he's really been there. And Patrick, thank you so much for your kind words and just empathizing with me. And I am sorry for your own loss. I know there is nothing that you can say or do that will ever make a person feel the comfort that you want them to feel. But just knowing that there's someone else that relates helps. Thank you to all the other ones. My beautiful, beautiful fiance, she has been there for me and really just done so much to really try to help me through all this. And she's losing her own mom, slowly but surely. And I watch the toll it takes on her, and it breaks my heart in just so many ways. And for any of you that have lost somebody that's a family member, my heart hurts for you because I know what it's like, even though I don't, because I did not suffer through what you're going through. I didn't. I lost my own, and no one in their own way will know that. I remember getting the call from my sister saying she's gone, and I walked outside, and I didn't know what the hell to do. I was in a rough marriage at the time, and I know my ex at the time tried to be very supportive because she had lost her own parents, and I just felt numb. That's the best way I could say. And then just hills of emotion. So that's it. But just saying to those, cherish your friends, cherish the loved ones. If you make friends online, keep them. If you find people you can game with and enjoy, build that friendship. Don't let go of it. Continue it. Try to get them into more games with you and do things. These are people that you surround yourself with that will be supports in your life to each other. I started in a new group with Noof, and I really appreciate those people, and I hope that I'll get to do more and get to be really good friends with each of them. Eggs, Jakes, and Chaotic. They're good people, and I hope that I can have deep friendships. I know I've supported so many on Twitch and different channels and things, and I hope I get to be good friends with you as well. I've got a beautiful gaming group that's an in-person gaming group that I love very much. Scott, Max, um, Josh, Brian, and Paul, all good people. Love my little mini GM and tolerator, and love my fiance, and they're really good people, and I really appreciate them. And then so many of you that I've had over the years, Brian and T and other Brian and Matt. I really appreciate you guys who have gamed with me over the years, and you guys have been just tremendous greatness. John, Paul, and Christina. There's so many people I can mention in this, and this is kind of my lead-in intro. So thank you for tolerating me going through a little bit of this, but it's kind of my lead-in and my catharsis to doing the topic that we're going to do. So let's head into the topic. And I'm running right now for my Players Pathfinder campaign. You guys may be familiar with it. It's the Reign of Winter. And I'll say this, when you're doing a campaign, you can choose materials that you either really read and make your own, or you can create your own. And there's pluses and minuses to both. I think for me, being a dad, being a gamer, and having so much going on in my life with different things with my older kids, and now with Kim's little one, mini GM that's might as well be my own. It's, for me, it takes up a lot of time, and it's special time and time that I wouldn't give away for the world. So doing something like this, I thank the Paizo people who really have written some great adventures. And I know, everybody critiques these things and says, well, you could have done this. Well, you could have done this. Well, you know what? I've done some writing recently, guys, and I'll just be real frank. Be careful to criticize until you've done the writing and the amount of writing and rewriting, because it is a labor of love when you're doing these things. If you want to change those things in your own, great, do it. But don't criticize the people who write these things too hard, because they're really making this wonderful experience for you. And the great thing, and this has had rave reviews, and even if you guys are running D&D 5 or you're running some other system, you can convert a lot of these things to the system, and I would recommend it. The adventure paths in Paizo are really, really well written, and they have great plots and great sub-stories to them, and you can take those and modify them so many ways. Like on this one, I have modified the heck out of this. There's a lot of it that's still the same, but I've thrown some monsters in, done some things that have really made it my own. One of the things I would say, when you're GMing things, you really want to bring to life the story. So I'll give you, for instance, and kind of, I wish I could tape some of these. I don't tape them, my sessions, because I respect my gamers, and I think some of them would feel a little weird just knowing that they're going to get posted up on the internet. Some people have still not embraced that, and they love their privacy. So I know a lot of you would enjoy me doing my sessions, and I think you would get a kick out of me as a GM doing them. I mean, if you've played with me, you know I've got a sense of humor. I have a ton of one-liners. That's my mother's humor, which I give my mother a lot of credit. My mother was a sarcastic little Scott German woman, and that's where I get mine from. And my dad, of course, always warm and a giving person. So, by the way, I also lost him 5 years ago in November. He went not far after Mom. And so you bring that kind of life to your games of who you are. And even if you're a GM that's not expressive or somebody who's more introverted, don't write yourself off that you can't be outgoing and animated and do things, because you can. It's all in what you want to do, and it's all in who you want to be. You gotta. The hardest thing I think in GMing and even in playing is to quit worrying what everybody thinks about you. And we are creatures that want to be loved and accepted. And I don't care what anyone says, and there are people that says I don't care what people think, and quit it. We all want to be loved and accepted. All of us, down to the core. We hate rejection. We are not creatures that enjoy rejection in any way, shape, or form. I know I don't. I am a people pleaser by nature. Let me tell you, a huge one. And I've learned to overcome that over the years and become a bit more sarcastic and fun. And that's where you see it. Because I think a lot of you, if you'd have known me at 20, probably wouldn't have loved me. I did stick up for people. I was good-hearted, but I wanted so bad to be loved that I really just lost who I was. In gaming, you can put a twist of yourself into anything you do. And that's the great thing. At the end of the day, in that seeking to be loved, we need to turn that in a positive way and really allow people to know who we are and not be afraid of that when we game. And so I will do voices in these things. Like, I'll do the big burly giant who sits there and says, "What do you want? Why are you at my gate?" And it's kind of funny because I had a situation this weekend, and not to give away too much of this, there were different creatures that the players ran into. One of them was a giant. Now, this one is not in the module, okay? I'll tell you this, that was a custom mod that I did. And they came up upon a giant and a couple of his henchlings with a winter guard guarding the gate into the hut, finding the hut in the area. And there was a huge distraction going on in the city that was causing these things that were trying to keep this forest that the hut has brought out from consuming the area of this part of the city. These were the left behinds, and so it was real fun because Max and his rogue Painman were coming up, and we did a social combat. And I'll say this to GMs, if you haven't used social combat in the Ultimate Intrigue, use it, because it's a lot of fun in bringing things to life. And this goes into the role-playing and the actual BSing of things. So Painman walks up and says, "Still guarding this thing? How's your successes going?" And the giant looks at him with a kind of a sneer. He goes, "You again? What are you doing here?" You know. And I was playing him out, and that's how I do it. If you're going to do a giant, you get into the character and you stand up and you again, what are you doing here? Utilize voices and inflections. Bring it to life, because then your players kind of get that, it's something about that when you do those things. And that's something I love that Noof has done in our game, that our one shot that we're doing. And with the other fellow players, is that we bring our characters to life. And you use the voices and you use the context. I mean, Eggs and Jake do such a great job of just throwing that voice in there. And Chaotic with just the flirtiness of Pearl. I mean, and she utilizes that to her advantage. It's kind of that 1920s woman that, restrained by society somewhat, but not really. And it's cool to bring all those aspects into a game when you're playing it. So this as well to players as GMs, bring your character to life. Do voices. Get into being that character. No, we're not actors or actresses like Critical Role and those folks who can really just envelop the part. But that's okay. We don't have to be. We just have to want to bring something to life. And I know for me, that comes out of the creative that I was given and gifted with, is to want to bring things to life. When the monster comes up, I love giving the descriptions, and use a lot of description when an event occurs. And don't make it sound, you don't have to make it sound stupid. I know some people just kind of go, well, you come up against this and this happens. Don't do that. It's okay to start out that way, but evolve from that. Really evolve. What I said is, all of a sudden, you guys are in this, you came out and you feel this rumble under the ground, and everything starts shaking. And the next thing you know, you see the Azamar paladin, Orin, flying through the air as the ground erupts in front of him. He's coming back down, and the jaws snap into him, blood and going everywhere, and the party is sprayed by the blood. See, that is what will get the party's blood pumping, because they're visualizing this happen. And that's what you're doing as a GM. When you use a lot of descriptors, when you use a lot of colorful language, you are causing the scene to be painted. It's like you're, take it this way, when you're GMing, you are painting pictures in people's heads. And that's the love I have. I can't paint like my mother painted. I can't draw like my sisters draw. They can do, my one sister, my middle sister, can take the front of this and she can draw it freehand to look almost the same as this, but with her own little flair on it. I wish I had that talent. God forbid I wish I had that talent. I don't. My talent comes from oration and from poetry, what I write. I'm an orator. I can paint a picture in your mind by doing these things. And why? Because I have such a love. One of the players that I played with on Saturday said, man, I asked her, what made you want me to join the group? And one of the things that was said was because of just how much I saw how passionate you are for your gaming videos and your other things that you do. Yes, I do have a passion for it because it is my creative outlet. It is how I can paint pictures and masterpieces that I couldn't do if I was trying to do my mom's work. So for me, I want to paint such a vivid picture in your mind. And I love using dice. Like there's a huge dice that I should bring out and show you guys, that has where you hit on the body of a creature. And every once in a while I'll roll that for kicks and giggles and say, okay, you hit there, you did this. So describe for me, especially with kills, if a player rolls the amount of thing to take out a creature, or even if they win a battle socially, I say, okay, you tell me how you take this battle home. And I let them go. And I loved it. One time I told Max, you tell me how you take it home. Max stood up. Now, if you knew Max, Max is an outgoing guy. He's a marketing guy. But he's been quiet because he hasn't known the system over the last 2 years. Max has come out of himself in this recent adventure. He loves this campaign. He does. His rogue gets up there and just says, and you do this, and you do that, and this, and that, and the other. You know you're succeeding as a GM when your players are getting up and doing those things. You want them to have an outlet to be their character. So when you get an encounter, do the voices. Like I love doing Varishan voices. So I go, the Varishan voice is this, and I love to do these things of this, and I have so much fun doing these things that I don't know if I want to do this, but I love it. See, I will do this for my gnomes. And like Dorian's kind of cold, so he'll be like, how'd that work out for you? Oh, okay. And so I will use different voices and contexts because that's what you want to do. You want to color this for your players. You want them to feel a part of it. So for instance, the players come upon a house and there's these women inside. And I say, you see a fire that has burned out in the area. It's still kind of warm, but the ashes are right there. And you can hear vivid laughter rolling from the house that was abandoned and surrounded by the forest. This laughter comes bubbling out along with it's male and female, and you can hear the clink of glasses and just the laughter coming out. And so, Penguin, the rogue, says, "Okay, I'm going to go up and look in the window." And so I said, "You see these women dressed in these flowing robes, red hair, gorgeous, and they're drinking with these gentlemen in there that look like merchants, and they are just overflowing, pouring the wine. The wine is flowing, the laughter is flowing, the conversation is flowing, and it's just one of those situations that you can feel the happiness and the drunken revelry coming out." And he goes, and I just say, make a roll, acknowledge this, because I'm not going to tell them why. And as a GM, don't. Just tell them, roll this skill. Why are you doing it? Because if they fail the roll, they won't know any better. They'll know they missed something, but they won't know what they missed. And you don't want to give away what the real tease of it is. So the guy rolls the roll, and he finds out that these women are a fey creature. I'm not going to tell you what because I don't want to spoil it for you in case you run it or play it. But it was a fey person, okay? And he went, "Oh crap." And he's in a conundrum. He's chaotic neutral, okay? So a chaotic neutral would say, what's the profit of this in this for me? I don't think I'm going to tell the party. What does he do? He does the total chaotic neutral thing, walks up to the war priest and the cleric of Sarenrae, who's also an Azamar. Both of them are Asmars, and says, "These are these." And they got these guys and these merchants in there, and they're drinking with them. And I don't think it's going to go well. Blew my mind, because I'm sitting there going, "Max, are you sure you want to do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." Here's our chaotic neutral half-elf from Keonan, which is the Elven Kingdom, who's a spy, who lies all the time. And he blows my mind once again by coming out and saying, "Let's save these guys." Now, you want to have some fun role-playing in it. So, so now it all hell breaks loose. I know what Scott's going to do, because Scott runs the Asmar War Priest. Scott's going to come marching in, and he is going to take the law into effect. But again, he surprises me. And he surprises me simply from the fact that he walks in and he says to the women, "Pour me a glass. What are you doing here? Let's have some food with this. Can you make some food?" And this is kind of in this burned out bar. That the women are like, "Oh, hey, yeah, come join us." And then in behind him come, waiting at the door are the priest and then my NPC gnome player. So, you have the situation building. So as a GM, you got to describe it. So I'm describing to him, the women are just, inviting you in to join. They pour you a glass. "Well, no, why don't we make something to eat here?" And the women are like, "No." And the guy's like, "Nah, we're having a great time." Da, da, da. So finally he plays his hand. "I think it's time you let these fine gentlemen go. I know what you are." Typical Scott. How do they react? They go into these just raging things. And what's funny is the two players come in supporting cast with him. So Paul's priest is coming in of Sarenrae, and so comes Dorian, my gnome, vigilante. So they're coming in to help. All of a sudden, they get hit by the charm effect of these women. Boom. They sit down and pour a glass. So here's his backup support, sitting there drinking now, having a good time. And the whole point is, and I love how Paul plays it, and this is when you know you got the right group of players, because, like he says, unless I'm attacked, I am affected by this effect. So I'm not going to do anything. I'll laugh. And that's what I had with Dorian. Dorian puts his knife on the table, ready to go, or his scimitar. His scimitar's ready to go whenever he's ready to attack. But he's drinking with Oren, and so the two of them are going to drink and watch with the other guys. And they're all laughing at the fact that Scott is battling these women. So the rest of the party tries to come in. Some stays out. Painman, the elf, comes flying through the window, and I love this. I asked him, I said, what are you going to do to get in? You got the window in front of you. He says, I'm going to jump through the window. Smashes through the window, does his tumble check, and then comes up and says, I don't think this is a good situation, and I know what you are. So needless to say, the whole point is color the situation. The combat took all of 3 minutes at most, because these creatures were not going to take the party down. They're not tough enough. Their effects are charm, get you, enchanted, but yet they did. They took 2 of the key players that were going to back Scott, and they enchanted them. So play that up. We're laughing and sitting there. We're clinking and drinking and laughing and everything else. And he goes, should we help? Nah, let's just sit here and drink some more. So, Scott's rolling his eyes going, come on, guys, need some support. Need some support. War Priest's going to die. War Priest's going to die. Need your support. Nope. And so, when you're playing these scenarios, let your players go whatever directions. This is the whole point. Too many GMs want to say, but you should be helping the party. You are a party player. Screw that. Let your players come together as they want to come together. Quit trying to control them. That's a big rule I have in any GMing that I see in the books. And this is not just my rule. This is a GMing tip from the GM's Guide and from any DM's Guide that you read. Let your players play within reason. Now, if they get way out of control, you kind of go, really? How are you going to do that? And that's how, I hit people. Really? Are you sure that's how that reads? You don't want to insult them, but you do want to call them to when they're being a metagamer. And there's ways of doing it that you don't insult them. Because here's what you don't want to have happen in your party, in your play. You do not want your players to take the story that you're doing so beautifully and so colorfully and animated and bringing to life and have it all die because you don't agree with how their interpretation of something is. So be gentle in how you do it. You don't have to be the policeman. You don't have to crack the whip down. And now, again, if your party is okay with you doing it, fine. But I'm going to tell you, most players are not going to be that way. They just aren't. We want to learn the system and make sure we're doing things right. That's always the key. But at the same time, we don't want to lose the fun of the role play. Paint the colors. Like I'll tell them, the snow is swirling up next to you, or as you're walking through the woods, you can hear the creaking of things starting to grow more, and you don't know why. Or when something comes out, you see this creature mysteriously fade in from the woods and stand before you. Even the dawn, there were some other creatures that were fey there that were pipers. So they came across them, and he goes, well, interesting. One of our blood. Well, not full blood, but one of our blood. What brings you here? So the war priest tries to address him. Yes, Celestial, I see you. I'm talking to my own kind. Ooh, that sets him off. But see, as a GM, you got to play this. How would a fae be? A fae would not acknowledge a human. A fae would not acknowledge something that's a lesser being. Maybe an elf. A gnome, definitely. And he did. He kind of says, oh, little one of our first worlders. Well, kind of. You're a bit removed. So, why are you with this group? What is your intent? See, that's a fae. And if you ever read any books about fae are arrogant, they're elusive, they don't get to the point, so the party's questioning the fae. What is your purpose here? To expand my kingdom and my influence. See, never says what his real goal is. That's a fae. Truthful, but evasive. Or tricksy, as I call it. And that is how they're going to be. And so as a GM, when you're playing your creatures, know your creatures, get a little background on them, read about them. I love Fae creatures more than probably most, because the Fae are so twisted in their thinking sometimes. So, well, what of all these good people? Well, what of it? I don't want the witch having this kingdom. I want this kingdom. So I think I will take it. People go, oh, you're being too straightforward. Oh, no, 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 no. He never says how. He never says why. He never gives his true intent. Oh, he gives enough to get the party a little bit of resolution, but the party has learned nothing. And see, that's why you want to be as a GM. Give some of the story away with your creatures, but don't. Don't give their true intent away. Yes, the truly evil evils love to orate, and that's the one thing that watch any show, and it's true in real life. All the real diabolical evils love to talk about their plans. Why? Because they're arrogant and they think their thinking is greatness. However, creatures from other planes and other places are not so straightforward. They're more evasive and elusive. So, I have this little, and again, it's an NPC creature that is not in this module, but I made this magic shop from the Chelish Empire. And the Chels, if you learn anything about the Chelish, they are a bit of an arrogant, diabolic people because they worship Asmodeus and his different devils and contract devils. So he's got a little contract imp that's up there. And I basically say, she is watching Painvin out of the corner of her eye with a smile, kind of rubbing her fingers and touching the bit of her chin as she watches you. And and Damien, and we got this lecherous fey-blooded sorcerer. That's the one that said you're part blood with the fey. So turns to him and says, And I say, Damien, you look at this imp, and she is gorgeous as devils go. And he's going, thinking my odds, probably wouldn't be good to do this because I'll get bound into it. But I'm playing on his desires. And see, as a GM, that's where you can play on their different character things. Use the NPCs to play on their strengths and weaknesses. Play a little bit. Have some fun, because it lets the players then think their way out of things. Wouldn't it have been fun if Damien, in this story with his imp, hit on her and tried to win her over in her affections? So I love how the different things come together in the game. And I think that's the biggest thing is as you do things, don't take things away that you could really make into fun moments. Really twist things around a little bit. Give a little more color to your NPCs. What I see a lot of GMs do is they'll follow a storyline and they just do what is written about the PC or the NPC. Don't do that. Don't. Extrapolate, expand, put stuff there that maybe wasn't written in the book. Do stuff that make the NPCs more than a two-dimensional prop or a two-dimensional part of your story. Really bring them to life. They may have nothing to do. The NPCs that I put in there have nothing to do with this adventure. Nothing. They don't have squat to do. They play no role in the overall theme. But we spent more time arguing and haggling in that magic shop, that Chelish magic shop, and playing up that portion of it than the adventure. We spent another 15 minutes in there of game time in the beginning. Some GMs goes, well, that's a waste of time. The party could have moved on. No, it's not. It allows it to be a campaign. Let your NPCs have life. Color them. Make them memorable. Sometimes the most memorable parts of the adventure are the NPCs that have the least role in anything, even in the story overall. But they're the thing your player will remember after your session. So don't fret on that. Don't try to push it away. Don't say, hey guys, come on, you're spending too much time in the magic shop. Look, if my players want to spend a whole session BSing in a friggin' magic shop and go nowhere in the campaign, so be it. It is their story. Let them have their story. Quit trying to keep things on a timetable. Yes, stories have timetables, but that's not why we play them. We play them to role play. That's what these things are, role-playing games. And so my thought on it, now again, some of you will disagree and argue with me, and that's fine. It's your choice as a GM. You have your own free will. I'm just telling you, for me, the memorable moments are the ones where it has nothing to do with the story. I've had that in every one of my campaigns. And the guys remember it and still talk about it into this campaign. That's the hilarious part about it. And you know, some of the things that my players talk the most about are the modifications that I do to these stories. It's not the story that was written. It's the modified parts of it that they remember. Why? Because they're mine. I pour my heart into those moments so that the players can really just picture them. Carrying Crown, I took my players to the other planes. Nothing was written about that in the Carrying Crown. Ask Wes Schneider about that. He'll tell you there's no planar parts or planar travel in Carrying Crown. But I put it in there. Why? So that they could meet some of their gods and goddesses and get a mythic tier in their life. And they spent probably 2 sessions out in the plains, lost, doing stuff that had nothing to do with the Carrying Crown, other than it was going to help them to solve some things. And then the story ended in a way that we didn't even get through book 6, because the player chose something from that side adventure, from the side stuff that I put in, to do a wish and change everything. That's okay, guys. That's the story. If you don't get to book 6, oh well. Color it. Bring it to life. Let your players play it, enhance it, see it, smell it, hear it. I have music or different sound effects going on in the background. The players go, wow, okay, that's kind of odd. I do it for a reason. I do it to set the mood and the tone. You want to do those kind of things. One of them said, wow, that sounds like Russian music. Well, yeah, you're kind of in an area of the world that's kind of got a little bit of a Russian northern flair to it. Oh, so then they'll sit there and they'll bop their heads to the mood. And it's all about the creation of those effects. And again, I give props to my mom, because Mom taught me to be creative. I am expressive the way I am because of my mother. I am an outgoing, happy soul and passionate because of my mother. Without that wonderful woman, I wouldn't be the individual you see today. Yes, I made my own decisions. Yes, I wrote my own story. Yes, I changed some things in my story to make it better. But realize that as you do things, how you set your tone is how people will remember you. Do you paint vivid stories? Do you run vivid characters? Are they fun? Are they funny? Do you take the game so seriously that you can't laugh and enjoy the other players? See, these are all things. Do you get to know the players outside the game? Do you ask things? Do you ask tons of questions to get to know them? I know some people think that's weird. I don't. I want to know the people that I'm with. I want to know them as human beings. I will ask some questions, and sometimes people go, why'd you ask that, Rick? Or that's kind of weird. Why did he go that way? There's a reason. I'm a people reader. I will read you as a human being within 2 sittings. And some people think that's weird and go, you can't know me. But I do. I watch you. I'm watching your mannerisms. I'm listening to your voice. I'm listening to what's important to you. I listen for intonations. Why is that? Because I want to know you. I like to know the people I game with. I want to know them as human beings. I want to enjoy the experience of being with them. I want to build a memory. I want to have a lifelong friendship with people, if that's possible. It is, I think, but I don't want us to just be that one-time sitting gaming buddy that had a little bit of fun. I want to know you. Again, another gift my mother gave. So know that. And so get to know your players, and saying these things, get to know your GM, get to know your players, become friends, let the guard down, get to know each other, get to know each other's families, spend time, really develop the relationship and that bond. It's even if it's only for a year or 2 years, it is a moment in your life you will never forget. It is a great memory. And these campaigns can be great memories that you guys look back and laugh about and that you revel over. Yes, they're make believe, but they're times of bonding. They're times of creativity. They're times of just fun and mirth. There's something that make you a better person at the end of it. And that's the great part of gaming. That's the great part of all of this as a GM, is that experience. And yes, we talk about techniques and tips, and some people would say, Rick, stick to the things in the book. I am, in a sense. I'm giving the Ric Flair on these things. Boy, that's really good, Ric Flair, huh? You guys will kill me on that one later. But really take the time to do this. Get to know your monsters. Read the background of them beforehand. Read the mythology. Get to know them and run them with that core. When you write up an NPC, put a background to them. Give them motives and reasons why they do things. Give them their own personality. Try not to run everybody the same. People in life aren't all the same. We're different. We are different living, breathing, experiencing entities. So take that into account. Don't be afraid to use religion. And I'm not talking in a negative, preachy way. I'm talking about bring the flair of the religions. In this case, some of these people hate the gods and goddesses, but love the cold and love the fae. So bring that aspect in as a GM. Make people understand. You see dilapidated churches of Pharasma. They seem to be tolerated, but you can tell that it has seen a lot of sadness. It's an aspect that paints a picture for players. It paints a picture of oppression and of doubt and of arrogance and of just conquering things. I refer to the Ulfins in here as the slaves of Baba's Yaga's children. Again, I'm not giving anything away. You're going to learn these things. This is no plot that you're going to run with, but you got to make people see the picture. So the Ulfins are the downtrodden. But in other realms, they're the Nordic warriors and warriors that are like the Valkyrie, that are strong and powerful and barbaric. But here, they're gray and one-dimensional because their lives have been sucked out of them. That's the kind of setting you have to do. If you're doing an Egyptian campaign, you can play up the gods and the goddesses and the god kings and how amazing it is, and the how windswept and sand swept the terrain are. That cities come and are buried by the silt, the very silt that they sit on. See, these are the colorations that as you put in there, your players begin to see a picture and they begin to process it all. And those are the things you want to do in a campaign. You really want to take time. And you guys are going to notice my GM tip's going to be long today. There's a reason for it, because I think what I'm laying out here is really the core essence of GMing and playing. It is the creativity. And if the creativity is not there, you can write a great story and run people through it, and it's a great experience. But there's a difference between epic and great. Come play with me sometime, and I will show you epic. And I'm not saying that arrogantly. I pride myself very much in writing memorable campaigns that you will never forget. Play under me sometime, and you'll see. I have a lot of fun with it, a lot of laughter. There's a lot of back and forth, mini GMs running around the table. It's fun, but people don't forget my campaigns. They're still talking about Carrying Crown. Max is still talking about Skulls and Shackles. There's a reason why, because I make them that memorable. I want people to walk out of there feeling like they have been to Avatar, or they have been to the Lord of the Rings all three once, or The Hobbit all three once. I want my players to experience that kind of experience and walk away going, and I listen to feedback. Hey, my players will tell me, Rick, sometimes I feel like that was a little wooden, or this was this way. Boom. Okay, you got it. I will go back and modify to make it a better experience. It's not about pleasing them. It's about the fact that I want to paint a masterpiece every time I sit at the table. Now, some of you go, wow, that's pretty, arrogant. No, it's not. If you really love GMing, you will paint a masterpiece every time you sit at the table. You will come up with it, and not in a contrived way. It will just come out like that because you are pouring you into it. And that's really what it is, folks. If you want to have an epic experience, you have to be you. If you're a flirt, be a flirt. If you're funny, be funny. If you are verbose, be verbose. If you are a few words, then be few words, but let those words contain just explosive power when they come out. That's the point. And in this, you will evolve as a GM and how you do things. That's the great part. You've got to pick up the tools, reread your books many times. Just because you read them a few times doesn't mean you know them. The one thing I've come to find as a reader of books, every time I read a book, I catch something different in that book. I love the Dresden Files. I read the stuff by Jim Butcher. I love his Harry Dresden books. Every time I read those books, I see something different. I may have read it, but I skipped over it at the time because it wasn't significant to me. Rereading it, I go, oh, and then the light clicks. And then I'll reread it again, and I go, oh, I went over that last time. I know I read that, but I didn't. Oh, wow. See, that's the thing you got to remember. Every time you read and reread one of these, you'll have an aha experience because something will be on your mind the day you're reading it. It'll take away the total aha experience. You want an aha experience. Every time I reread and reread material, and that's why I do it, people are like, but you've read it once. Yeah, but I missed things when I read it once. Then I read it twice and I miss a few more things. But every time I read it, I get more and more and more. And it should come to where you're not having to crack this that much other than to just read a brief description. And then you are taking it from there and making it into something greater. And that's the whole point in you're doing these things. So you're going to get a lot of points. And I always say when I sit and look at these, re-listen to my GM tips multiple times. I'm not doing that to play myself up. You're going to catch different things at different times. Bring a notepad. I've always been taught, take notes, because you'll miss something. Even in those notes, you'll write them down, and you may not think about it, but then you put it somewhere, and when you're having a moment of just, mental block, I can't write anymore, I can't GM anymore, you pick up those notes, and you look, and you go, oh, I wrote that. I didn't even think about that. That's what keeps me GMing. You know how many years I've GM'd, folks? Since 1982. I have DM'd or GM'd. 80% of my time I have run and not played. Why is that? Some of you say I burn out as a GM. I don't, folks. 90% of the time I don't burn out. And there's a reason why. Because I am passionate about what I do. I learn. I am a sponge. I am constantly trying. I don't get upset with my players anymore that much. My players are my players. If I can't get along with their personality, shame on me. You can get along with anybody if you really want. And you can play with anybody. But when you build those friendships and you build those experiences, you truly make memorable times. For those of you that play with me now on Twitch and some of the other things I'm doing, understand I'm not just doing this to play with you 2 times. I want to be your friend. I truly do. You know, I truly do, Chaotic, want to be your friend. I truly do, Jake, want to be your friend. Eggs, I want to be your friend. Noof, I want to be your friend. I'm serious about that. I love making friends among my gamer friends that are lifetime friendships. I hope ours will be. You know, quirky and all, I am me. But let me tell you something. I do this for a reason. I hope that my party that I run now will be friends of mine to the day they bury me or cremate me. Probably cremate me because I want to fly in the wind. It'll be fun. I have fear of heights sometimes. I love flying, but I want to fly in the wind and float away. So, and Kim's already got some places she's going to go dump me. So, you know, Paizo, if you see a woman outside dumping ashes on your thing later in life, just know that's her doing that because she knows I love the system so much. But I truly do want to be that as a GM to you. When I invite you in and I take you as part of the party, I want to be your friend. Because I think in friendship, as we play, we'll get so much more out of life. Gelatinous Noob, who did Remily, give her big props. God forbid, Gelatinous Noob, you're a tremendous soul. You're fun and funny, and I look at you like a dad would a daughter. I truly do. You remind me of like Mini GM, or you remind me of Becca in that way. I am so honored that you did Remily for me. I really am. That was just a beautiful piece of work. And I will take any other things you want to do for me drawing wise. You are a creative soul. Love it. Dystress, thank you so much for all the chats we have. I know sometimes we go long on the chats of life. I've gotten to know her a little better lately, and she's just a tremendous female GM and player. Bane, gotten to know you a little better. Some others, and I don't want to leave out anybody. Aquila, or no, is it Akisha? I'm sorry, Akisha. I called you Aquila. There's another friend I know is Aquila. Baphomet. God, how many more? Carpe Diem and GM. I've gotten to know you guys a little bit on things. I hope to get to know all of you. Alex, and I'm not going to pronounce your last name. I'm just Everyman Gamer's Game, Alex. I appreciate it. Mark Sefter from Paizo, tremendous person. Got to know a little more with Amanda Kuntz. Appreciate her taking time with me. All of you guys that I interact with, I really appreciate, and I hope one day to be a friend to you as well. This is more to me than anything else because this is my creative community who I enjoy very much, and I thank you so much to my fiance, who I know doesn't watch these as much. Kim is such a wonderful soul, and I know sometimes my kids roll their eyes at her and stuff. She brings out the creativity in me, guys. She really does, and she supports my creativity just like I do hers. And yes, my fiance is 25 and I'm 48, God forbid. And you guys can give me heck, and the guys will give a whooping cheer that I'm with a younger woman. I didn't pick that because she was a younger woman. Her soul and her creativity is what drew me. And I love it. I love her sarcasm. I love the funness of her. Thank you for watching today. I know it's kind of been a hot mess, but I hope you guys get something out of it. It's one of my longest ones. And I really truly believe creativity is the core of everything. And if we truly allow ourselves to tap into that creative and express that creative, you will be so much more enriched in your experiences, whether you're playing or running. Just keep that in mind. Thanks, and have a great morning.